Hi, I'm Luke.
And I'm Rob.
Welcome back to PhotoBite, and today we're looking at two new models by DJI. Let's get into it. We're doing a bit of a different review. We're going to try and do two different products at the same time, but we're going to film each other doing it somehow. So here we have the Ronin S2, and this is the premium model of the two that we're looking at today, and it is packed full of features that DJI have really shown that they do care about the gimbal. Because the Ronin S, when that came out, it really changed the way that we looked at handheld gimbals. We went from that to this, and you know, that was met with a lot of interest and intrigue, and then they made the compact version. But now they've really taken this quite seriously, because this has a lot of features you would expect to see them put in one of their higher MX systems. One of the nice new features that they've added from the Ronin S, which is kind of where this all started, is now you actually have a touchscreen. So rather than going into the app and being heavily reliant on the app, you can actually take control of everything from the gimbal itself. So we can change the speed, we can adjust it, we can do a little gimbal check, make sure everything's happy, we can swipe along, we can play around with the feature. This has time-lapse tracking. You can also do time tunnel, which is a bit like the hyperlapse, and then you can do panorama as well. What we're going to do for science, we're going to turn my camera off, and we are going to turn this, and we're going to put it to sleep just by a double tap on the power button, and that should. Why is it not going to sleep?
It was asleep.
Oh.
Now it's not asleep.
Had it so well balanced, I didn't know I had it asleep. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to move it over. So let's see if we go, yeah, let's go this way. So that's really unbalanced, and we're gonna, let's see, we'll do this one. We'll loosen this one up, and then we'll do this with it. So we'll knock that up. That's unusable, we know that. So the neat features you have are little switches. So we can actually activate these switches in order to take better control of the system, so we can lock them in place. So now we can isolate which gimbal we want to work on. So I can lock this one over like that. So now we are currently working on the bottom one. Now I didn't touch that one, so we will leave it, but what we will do is we will lock it. So now it's locked, so now it's a completely rigid system. So now we can actually go through and we can make these adjustments that we need to. So we're gonna flick this one, and we're gonna see that it really swings forward. Now here's the neat thing. If we look down here, they've actually added a dial, so we can unlock this feature, and we were so used to this having to ease it back and trying to get the balance, whereas now you can just make slight adjustments like so, and we can find the balance like that. How easy is that? So we've done that. So now what we can do is we can lock it like so. So now it's completely locked, that's not going anywhere, and we'll make sure those are tight, and that's not going anywhere either. Now we need to go to the back. So if I loosen the back up, we'll see what happens now. Way out. So we loosen it up with one of the tabs, and this is an actual carbon fiber arm. So you're not having this metal on metal, which is really hard to move. It's actually a lot easier. So it allows you to make easier adjustments. Obviously you still got to apply a little bit more pressure to it, but at least you know that it's not going to constantly slide around. All right. So now we're going to unlock everything just to see where we're at. So now it's free moving, and we're just going to wake it up. Done. And if you want to be sure, you can tap in, you can go start calibration, and it will start calibrating it for you, making sure it's all balanced. So it'll actually check the pivot, check the yaw, check everything for you, and you're done. That easy. Now, of course, that is just doing a calibration, but if we want to do a balance test, we can select balance test. Now, it requires you to tilt the gimbal, so we're just going to pop it on my knee here, and we're just going to hit begin test. So now it's just going to do a quick test for us to make sure everything's working, and it's going to let us know. So being able to have the individual setup system means you can balance a lot quicker, and we currently have all three saying excellent, which is tilt, roll, and pan. So now that's all set up. So now what we'll do is we'll show you what Raven Eye can do. So some of the neat features with Raven Eye, if we just back out, is we can tap on the bottom. It's set up through Wi-Fi, and it's connected to this little antenna system down here. So if I just turn on my camera, you'll be able to see what it's doing. We'll just hit record for now so it doesn't go to sleep, and we can take control. So we can actually tap on one of these settings over here, and we now have control over what the gimbal's doing. You probably saw it in the ads when they were putting it on a tripod, but you can also do it in the hand. So we currently have it set, so I'm going to turn it on, and I can move it. So now I can actually have this on a separate location or a different area that may be hard for you to get hold of, and you can take control of it without being anywhere near it. I don't know about you, but that's really, really impressive. And for some it may seem like a gimmick, but I'm sure if you're going to use this feature, you're already thinking of ways you can use it and implement it, but this could really boost people's creativity when it comes to using a gimbal. And with that, you can also adjust the smoothness, so we can speed up the pan, so it's really quick, because they've also improved the motors so they can handle these kind of stresses. We can dial it down, so if I do that same movement again, it's nowhere near as aggressive. And then you can just turn it off like so. Now, if you're not a fan of using the phone, you can also go into a virtual joystick, and when you use that, you now have individual controls. So we can turn that on. You have individual controls, so now you can actually move the camera as if it were a little game.
Speaking of game-like controls, you can actually control both of these gimbals through the app using a PS4 or Xbox One controller. Crazy.
Don't you just hate it when you have to deal with a dead battery? Well, thankfully, DJI have actually made it very easy. So for me, in this case, I'm currently on location, battery's dead, I can just unplug my cable, unlock the Arca Swiss mount, and then just slide it off. Oh, that was a breeze, but we're not done. Oh no, no, no. We're gonna drop this out, that's a very warm battery, and we're gonna pop this one in. We're just gonna do it like that. So now that is in, and oh, would you look at that? There's currently a plate there waiting for me to put it back on. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna slide it back on, lock it into place, plug my cable back in, and then wake it back up again. And would you look at that? It's perfectly fine, and we can go off and we can start using it. Amazing. These are features that are genuinely usable. People actually enjoy using these, and it just goes to show DJI really thought the system through. It's all linked up through the HDMI, so this is actually sending it to my phone, and then there's another sensor going into the gimbal so it can tell the gimbal what to do. And you can remove this. This isn't part of the system. This has its own battery system as well, but it's also linked in to the battery here if you wish to run it that way. So with the system, so the app alone can actually control the movement, but where the Raven Eye comes into it is it's actually sending the feed to my phone, and it's also enabling you to use the tracking. So that way, what you were doing with the Osmo gimbals for your phone, you can now do it with the larger Ronins. Incredible stuff. So to show you how easy it is to track, it's just like all the other DJI apps. So what we will do is we'll just move into location so we can latch on, and we're just going to draw a box over our subject, and it's locked. So now, start moving, it'll start tracking. Now, we did find in tests that if you have a very contrasted day, it will struggle. It will find it very hard to keep track of your subject, and it also depends on the lens that you're using. The wider it is, the easier it can track, and then if you get it too close, sometimes you can actually lose track. So now it's completely lost the tracking. And I think it's probably because you had that tree behind you, so you just assumed you were the tree. So it does have its limitations. It's good if you haven't got too much going on in your scene, if you're just solely focusing on one person. So just make sure you keep an eye on the contrast and don't rely on it too much unless it's for a very simple movement that's very repetitive. So you can focus on your control whilst it focuses on your subject.
Now Luke, we know the RS has all the features, but the RSC is nothing to scoff at. It's got most of the features the RS has, but it's also a lot lighter and a lot cheaper. The main differences are, the screen on this is not that big 1-inch touchscreen, it's just a little letterbox LCD. It doesn't have that nice micro measurement knob on that Manfrotto plate, so you've got to do that by hand. It means it's a bit fiddly. But the difference in weight isn't a lot. It may be a lot smaller, but it's not that. The weight between the two is actually pretty similar. You're still able to remove the camera and put it back on without having to rebalance the gimbal because of this plate system. It's got mounts on the sides just like the RS, but these ones don't have any power and data connections on them, so they're just dumb accessory mounts. It's got the same nice focus wheel and the lock trigger on the back. Same joystick in every way, but it's just smaller and cheaper, really. This one's maybe designed a little bit more for those mirrorless cameras and not so much for those massive cinema cameras. But it still can hold a pretty decent payload. Hey, me again. Now, we never actually mentioned what the payloads were. The RS can hold a whopping 4.5 kilograms and the RSC can hold up to 3. So the RS can hold quite a heavy camera and lens, and the RSC, for its size, can hold quite a lot as well. Also, the Raven Eye and all the accessories for the S2 are also compatible with this. You can snap on the bottom, you can plug it in, get all those features on this gimbal as well. You don't have to worry about just buying the RS for all those extra features, because you could buy this and buy the Raven system, for example, and get the active track and get the transmission to your phone and have that phone module and everything. Now, one difference between the two is the handle is integrated on the RSC, but that actually adds to its portability. So I'll take my camera off. Now, when you go to pack this thing away, all you need to do is lock all the axes, twist this knob here, and it just folds right in half. They say it's about the size of an A4 piece of paper. Yeah, it gets absolutely tiny. Can fit in any backpack. When there's times you need to get low, for those low shots, you can use this little adapter on either of the two gimbals. Nice and easy to use. Snaps on the side. Just attaches on like that. And take off the tripod. Slap it on. And then you get this two-handed mode and underslung grip, as easy as that. It also has a portrait mode, which works well in the underslung mode, which is great for those Instagram stories.
So overall, we're very impressed with what DJI have done with the Ronin S2, and the fact that they've really gone to town on making it better. This isn't an incremental upgrade like you see with a phone or a camera, and we suggest waiting for a few more models. This is the next upgrade from DJI, and they've really shown you what you can actually do with a gimbal. And there's a few other features that we forgot to mention. What you can also do is you can actually have this linked up to the side of a car, so you can actually remove the battery grip and you can have it set up so you can have it on the side, so you can track other cars or other subjects for that matter. So it just goes to show they're also thinking a bit more about modularity rather than strictly holding it in this position. And like you saw, you can actually also have the grip up here so you can get those low angle shots. So again, they're really thinking about modularity and how the person's going to want to use a gimbal for everything. In terms of some issues, it more came down to the app itself. You have to go between portrait mode and landscape mode, and the app doesn't change. So when you're on the app and you want to do your calibration, you have to be in portrait. If you try and go landscape, nothing happens. So it's just small things like that that they can tweak, but that's more on the app end. When it comes to this system, only thing is that these things have so many different settings and options now. It's just navigating the menu. It would be good if they could add a quick menu, or maybe even make it so that when you open up or turn it on every time, it comes up with the main settings that you want to use, rather than having to go into the menu to try and find it. So it would just speed up the process a bit. They sped up this, they just need to speed up this. But the things we only have issues with more come down to the firmware that can be adjusted. And there's just a few things that may have been overlooked, but sometimes when you go to put the arm on, you've got this little tab that will get in the way when you're trying to tighten down. So it's just minor niggles like that, but those things can be adjusted and you can also adjust around them. But really, they've gone to town on this model and they've done really well.
Now, the RSC is nothing to scoff at either though. It has almost all the features that the RS has, just it's a little bit lighter, barring a couple of the features, and for a lot less money. And talking about the menu system, on the Ronin S, you could argue it's a lot better because they have that touchscreen, so you can go through the menus. On the RSC, you just have this tiny little screen here that you have to navigate with button presses, and it can be a little bit more difficult to figure out where you are and what settings and where they are. But definitely when you're looking at buying one of these gimbals, definitely have a look at the RSC, because you might not need all those extra features and you can save quite a bit of money for an amazing gimbal.
Right, so that's been our review of the two new DJI models, Ronin S2 and the
Ronin SC2.
because that's not going to get complicated. But if you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, my name's Luke.
And I'm Rob, and I'll see you next time.
Peace out.
Bye bye.